Dear learners, welcome back to SWAYAM NPTEL course on library automation and networking. This is week 6, module number 6, library networking, and the lecture number is 30, national and international library networks. Dear learners, we have discussed much about networks, library networks, what are the usage of networks, and how do we perform library activities along with the library networks, cooperation, library resource sharing. So everything is part of networking system. That means network has made a huge impact on library and information centers to provide resources or to maximize the availability and accessibility of resources to its users. So in this particular session, we will be learning more about national as well as international library networks. There are many networks which can be even a geographical area restricted or something like universally distributed access. So in that way, we have many library networks. So in this particular session, we will be talking about national networks as well as international networks. We will have just a glance on all the major library networking system within the country as well as the international level. Dear learners, as we know that information and communication technology and the progress in telecommunication has made a huge impact, which has been revolutionarily made a change in the library and information centers to provide maximum resources to the users. As we know that library networking is the association, or it's a kind of a link or interconnection between the libraries to share their resources, and resource can be in terms of materials or collection, sometimes services, and sometimes manpower, expertise, experiences, etc. So there are different categories in such a way that maximum facility can be given to maximum number of members, those who are part of library networks. So when we talk about the definition, as we have seen almost all the areas of library networks, so let me remind you once again the definition given by American Library Association Glossary of Library and Information Science, which talks about library networks by definition as it is a specialized library corporation for centralized development of cooperative program and service and requiring the establishment of or establishing a central point or central office and along with staff to accomplish network programs rather than merely coordinating them. That means it is not only a kind of a coordination among the libraries for sharing the resources. Apart from that, there will be a networking system in which they will be having established office as well as staff to look after all the activities which are related to library networks. And when we talk about library networking system, as we have seen that there should be a central office or a central point in which the manpower should be there to look after all the activities which are related to library networks. So apart from that, there should be a system, there should be a standard, or there should be a hierarchy of staff, as well as there should be a source of funding to run that particular library networking system so that the members can become a part of that particular library networks. So in that way, when you look at any library networks, so we can see that library networks are different. As I told you that there are national level as well as international level, but whether it is national or international, when we talk about library networks, there are some common characteristics. So when we talk about their services, their activities, there are some characteristics which are common for almost all the library networks. In that way, we can categorize them such as modernization of libraries. So that means one of the activities of any library networks is modernization of libraries, such as automation, networking, and supporting performing library automation, and also connecting the libraries like small libraries, etc., part of networking system, resource sharing. These are all part of their modernization of libraries. That is one of the goals of any library networking system. And the second one is access to electronic resources. As we know that normally networking system will have a telecommunication system where the information has to pass from one library to the other library. That means there will be a sharing of resources from one to the other. So such kind of resources normally shared within the library, without any geographical barriers. In that way, normally electronic resources like electronic journals can be shared, electronic databases can be shared, or any other electronic materials which are in the form of thesis or dissertation or any kind of project details, and even electronic books, etc., that has to be transferred from one library to the other library if the second library is not having such kind of resources available to them. So providing such kind of electronic resources also another characteristics of any of the library networks in the present scenario. And the next one is standardization. There should be some kind of a uniform guidelines, techniques, or any kind of procedures or framework that also has to be made. So library networks have its own impact on preparing or developing such kind of a guidelines to perform such activities in a uniform format. So for example, when a particular library networks create any kind of a standard for digitization, so that digitization standard can be performed in a fundamental guidelines or using a common framework, so that also can be developed by a library networking system. So that is also another characteristics of any library networking system normally in the modern scenario. And again, the next one is cataloging based services. As we know that one library will do many services for its own users. So these services can be extended to the other libraries also once you are become part of the networking system. Say for example, shared cataloging, union cataloging, online public access catalog, building of authority files. So these are all some of the examples for sharing the resources, or we can say that cataloging based services which can be provided to other libraries also as a part of networking system. Apart from that, document supply services, say for example like document delivery services, interlibrary loan, etc., for sharing the resources from one library to the other library, that is also a common characteristic of library network. And also cooperative acquisition of materials, like a particular library can become a centralized point where they will be procuring all the materials on behalf of other libraries. So such kind of centralized or shared mode of acquisition also can be performed by library networking systems. And also training for participatory library personnel. Normally those who are become a member of library network, those people will get some kind of a training program by the library network office, so that they will be trained in many of the activities and areas of automation, networking, etc. And apart from that, one library network can have some kind of an interaction with other library network, so that they will also get some kind of an exposure and expertise and to improve the process of library networking system. And literature search service also another characteristics of any library networks, in which normally current awareness service, selective dissemination of information. So these are all can handled by a particular library network. Apart from that, services like reference service, referral services through email or any other social networking platform, so that can also be given to users as well as the members of library networks. That is also one of the common characteristics of any of the library networks. So dear learners, we can see that it is a kind of a complete scenario where there are different library networks, but there are some common characteristics followed by different library networks, because their all aims and objectives are almost in the same line, to provide maximum services to the libraries, so that their users will get maximum benefit out of that. And when we categorize library networks, as we know that there are two major categories. One is national library network, other one is international library networks, based on the geographical coverage. And also there is another category, we can call it as city library networks or metropolitan area networks. That means it is related to a specific geographical area, say for example a city related or a particular state related, that can be formed as a city library networks. So in that way we can make it as man or city library networks, national library networks or country library networks, as well as international library networks. So for examples, for city library networks, examples like ADINet, CalipNet, MalibNet, etc. And for national library networks like InflipNet, DELNet, etc. And for international library networks such as OCLC, RLUK, etc. So these are all the major categories we can make that based on the geographical area in which it covers. There are many other networking systems based on the subject, language, or their objectives, and sometimes their areas, etc. But these are all major categories based on the geographical area in which it covers, irrespective of any of the other mechanisms like colleges, universities, or languages or mediums, etc. So major three categories are city, national or country, as well as international. So there are many examples for international library networks such as OCLC, RLIN, JANET, RLUK and RNet. So these are some of the major examples or the established library networks in the international scenarios. Similarly, there are established one in the Indian scenario also. As our own country, we have many library networking system and major networking systems like InflipNet, DELNet, CalibNet, AdiNet, PuneNet, MalibNet, etc. So these are all some of the examples for national level library networks. So let's discuss some of the well-established library networks in the international scenario. One of the well-established international library networks in the world is OCLC, or we call it as Online Computer Library Center. So it was actually established very long back in the year of 1967. That time it was a different name. It was known by a different name. That was Ohio College Library Center. Even the acronym was same for that also, OCLC. And then they have changed this particular name into Online Computer Library Networks. So this was actually having a goal which is in Ohio State Academic Library System to create a computerized system. So that was the actual requirement when they have started. So in order to lower their cost of purchase as well as the cost of resources, in that way they have started a small consortia type of networking system where few academic library systems were merged together, or they came together and they worked for a networking or resource sharing process. During 1981, they have changed from Ohio to Online Computer Library Network, and in 1993, OCLC Forest Press publishes Electronic DV. That means the first library classification in the electronic format. So that was a great revolutionary change when they have reproduced such a print materials to online material, that way a classification scheme. And presently, when you look at this particular Online Computer Library Network, it is a well-established networking system at the international level, having 53,000 libraries become a member from 96 countries. So almost all the countries are become a part of this particular library networking system as a world initiative, so that they are able to get many of the services and the networking system what they provided by the OCLC. And as we know that one of the world's library catalog, that we call it as WorldCat, which is developed and maintained by this particular library network system, that is OCLC. And there are many services part of OCLC. We can divide them into management services such as WorldShare Management Service, WorldShare License Manager, ESET Proxy, Choreo Insights, Green Glass, Content DM, WorldCat Digital Collection Gateway, Wise. These are all some of the management services provided by OCLC. And apart from that, resource sharing services such as WorldShare Interlibrary Loan Service, Discovery to Discovery Service, that also called as D2D, TIPASA, OCLC Resource Sharing for Groups. So these are all the major resource sharing services provided by OCLC for different countries or different members of the particular library network as OCLC. And there are discovery and reference services such as WorldCat Discovery, WorldCat.org, First Search, Web Visibility and Capira. So these are all some of the examples for the services which are part of discovery and reference services. Apart from these, OCLC provide metadata services also, such as OCLC Cataloging and Metadata Subscription, WorldShare Record Manager, WorldShare Collection Manager, DV Services, Contract Cataloging, Cat Express, Syndio, and Linked Data and Open Linked Data. So almost all the services which have been provided by OCLC at the international level. So like that, there are so many services given by OCLC. All these services can be highly beneficial for the members from different countries. And it has different types of membership also, and normally international library networks or national library networks will be having some kind of a membership. So based on the funding availability or the capacity or the categories of libraries, so different membership can be taken. So like that, OCLC is also having some three major categories of membership, such as governing members, members and participants. So these are all the major categories of membership which are provided by OCLC for its members. And the other major library network is Research Library Group or Research Library Network. We call it as RLG, Research Library Group. So it is also an international library network, a non-profit library network, having almost more than 150 research libraries are part of that. Apart from that, they have members from archives, museums, galleries, etc., and also cultural institutions. So they are mainly providing facility for research as well as learning. It was founded in the year 1974 in New York Public Library and Columbia, Harvard and LA University. So it provides solutions to the challenges presented by libraries in case of information access and management, especially in the digital era. It is also governed by its own members, staff and board of directors. And the headquarters of Research Library Group is Mountain View in California. Another major international library network is RL UK, Research Libraries in UK. As the name indicates, the Research Libraries network have been formed in the UK. That was in the year 1983, and they also have many services like in order to support all the member libraries, they have many additional services such as union catalogs, archives or national gateways to access all the manuscripts, all the resources or all the digitized contents. And also there is a worldwide recognized platform, Sherpa, so that is used to share the output of a research in a very faster and speedy manner. As we know that research is always having research output that is having some kind of current value or currency. So in order to provide such kind of currency without losing its value, so there was a service. So this service normally we call it as Sherpa. So this was highly influenced in the research communities or research libraries to get update on the various research activities. And there are many such services provided by RL UK, such as online digitization of pamphlets, metadata infrastructural formation, etc. So these are all the major activities. There are so many activities which are part of this particular networking system. And the other one is Joint Academy Network or JANET. It is also one of the international library networks which are highly established, and it was founded in the year 1984 in the country of UK, mainly for supporting the education and research programs. And they also have many of the activities like capacity, say for example exchanging a huge volume of data from one library to the other library. So that supports such kind of activities by JANET. And also scalability, broad reach, secure, all these functionalities are available with JANET. And another major international library network is RNet, that is Australia's Research and Education Network. So it was founded in the year 1989. Group of Australian universities have become part of that. And they also have their own objective and networks. They always support the research and activities of that particular country. Apart from this, there are many other international library networks such as OhioLink, M25 Consortium of Academic Libraries, CURL, Consortium of Research Libraries in the British Isles. So there are many such international library networks which are available. So dear learners, now let us look into the Indian scenario. There are many such kind of a national library networking systems. Say for example like DELNET, it is a national level library networking system, developing library networking system. Earlier it was Delhi Library Network. Now the name has been changed as Developing Library Networks. So almost all such kind of activities normally happens under a particular Society Registration Act. So this DELNET was registered under Societies Act. So they also provide large number of facilities like resource sharing, producing machine readable catalogs, standalone version of online Del Plus. There is a software that is for managing the library automation activities. It is an automation or integrated library system. Delmark, it is also a LAN-based program for managing its collections and patterns. And the other one is CalibNet, Calcutta Library Network, which is founded in the year 1986. And there was a software developed by them. It is a kind of a storage software named as Sanjukta. So in order to act as a central database, it is also providing an online access to the resources which are available. And the next one is ADINET, Advanced Information Network of Libraries in Gujarat. It was established in the year 1994, and they have their own publications, there are newsletters, their own activities and services. And again Mysore Library Network, which is also started in the year 1995 to provide maximum services to the resources which are available, and the members all from a particular city like Mysore, Karnataka. And again Pune Library Networking System. So these are all different types of networking system. We can say that it's a kind of networking system which is based on city. So a particular area will be covered under this particular library network. But there are network like Developing Library Network. It is a kind of country library network, as well as one of the major library network which we need to talk about more is InflipNet. So that is one of the major library networking system in the country, information and library networks. So it is actually an autonomous center under Inter-University Center of UGC. It is an autonomous inter-university center of University Grants Commission in order to promote sharing of resources and to support the education and research. And in 1986, InflipNet was established under the aegis of UGC. It was actually initially started as a small project with an aim to develop a network among the Indian universities, and during 1988 the National Task Force on Library and Information System, that we call it as NTFLIS, they have recommended the establishment of InflipNet as an autonomous body. And further, 1991, InflipNet was registered as a society under the Societies Registration Act 1860. And during 1996, they have started as their own. That means they have got autonomy under University Grants Commission. 1998, InflipNet launched the first major project, UGC Infonet Digital Library Consortium, and 2004 they have started electronic thesis and dissertation. 2010 they have also started Shodh Gangotri. It facilitates submission of project proposal or research proposal which are doing in the current period. So in 2015, InflipNet also started a new initiative, National Institutional Ranking Framework, NIRF. So all these activities step by step, so there are many milestones in the case of InflipNet as a national level library network. So they have been doing a lot of activities for the users as well as the libraries. So this is the site address for InflipNet. So this is the landing page of InflipNet Center, where you can see almost all the activities of library networking system of the country, where they are providing electronic thesis and dissertation. They are providing large number of services like Shodh Ganga, Shodh Gangotri, eShodh Shuddhi, checking and acting as a plagiarism software. And there are many such services which are given by InflipNet Center. In that way, it is a highly established center in which universities, colleges, and those who are interested to become a part of the InflipNet library networking system can become a member of this particular networking system, so that they can avail almost all the access, all the facilities, all the services which are provided by library network InflipNet, such as Shodh Ganga, Shodh Gangotri, eShodh Sindhu, Enlist, InFeed, Shodh Chakra, and institutional repositories of InflipNet, EPG Pathshala, Vidwan database, IRINS database, She RNA. So these are all the major services which are provided by InflipNet Center. So it is a kind of a large networking system in which almost all the libraries of the country can become a part of the membership, and they can utilize almost all the resources which are provided by InflipNet Center. You may use this particular link to browse through the InflipNet Center, so that you will be having a general idea, as well as you will get all the details and the services, programs, activities, all such kind of networking systems and automation services which are provided by InflipNet Center, Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar in Gujarat. So dear learners, with this let me conclude. So as we have seen, there are many library networks. So library networks can be categorized major in the city library networks, national or country-wise library networks, or even the international library networks. So there are many examples for national level, international level, as well as city level. So when you look at the Indian scenario, as we know that no library is self-sufficient in the country or in the world itself, so every library has to depend the other libraries, or they have to become a member of the library network, so that they will be able to get the resources as well as share their resources with a huge discounted price, as well as getting the more facilities and services with minimum effort and cost also. So dear learners, please go through the InflipNet website and find out and understand that they have been providing almost all the services and activities, and also the different types of resources that will be highly helpful for each and every library, and that to a cost effective manner. Thank you.